Welcome to the SunWiz Inputs page tutorial. So we've got a project up and we're going to update the project and bring us to the inputs here. We see the general tab is the inputs which are available to all users, and here you can adjust the project title, you can change the customer, and you can change the system, also change the location. Let me explain each of these inputs in detail. So the default feed-in tariff is the government provided feed-in tariff in the state of which the location is based. So for example, in Victoria currently that's a feed-in tariff of 25 cents. In Brisbane that's currently 8 cents. South Australia is currently 16 cents. If there is additional that's paid for by the utility, you enter it in a later section. Alternatively, there is also a one-for-one or a net feed-in tariff, or no government feed-in tariff, meaning $0 from the government for anything that's export to the grid. You can adjust your inclination and orientation and your shading in a linear fashion. The installation date affects the default solar multiplier that's used for STC calculation. If it's a commercial installation, you can choose to have it GST registered or not, and that adjusts all the figures so that they're shown exclusive of GST. Also affects the system price due to the GST implications of STCs. You can adjust the tax bracket here, and that also affects all the figures shown. They then are shown in terms of post-tax dollars. And you can adjust the depreciation rate. That's 10% is your standard company, but some small companies are at 30%, sort of like an accelerated depreciation. And there are two different methods of depreciation. The final commercial factor is the discount rate, and that reflects the time value of money or opportunity cost or some risk profile. If your system has if this project has specific differences to standard systems in terms of pricing, for example, it's a tiled roof, then you can add $150 onto the system, and if there's any specific discounts that apply, then you can add them there. The finance method can be 100% of the cash paid for up front, or a lease or a mortgage. The only difference between a lease and mortgage is the tax treatment of the ownership, so whether the lease payments are 100% depreciable or the system itself is depreciable, as well as the interest is a tax offset. You can adjust the term of the lease. Let's say it's a 5-year lease with a $1,000 deposit, and let's say there's a $2,000 balloon, and we'll allow it to calculate the payments for us on the basis of a 10% rate. That's an annual interest rate. We then have the opportunities to enter electricity prices. So a flat rate, meaning all consumption is charged at 30 cents kilowatt hour here, or you can have a time of use rate in which you have your peak, shoulder, and off-peak dollars per kilowatt hour for your energy, your network, and then some of your ancillary charges. These are explained in great depth in the manual, but essentially to work out your total peak energy price per kilowatt hour, it's the sum of the peak energy plus the peak network plus NEMCO, REX, etc. Demand charges are billed separately. So before we move on, let's just put 30 cents for peak, 20 cents for shoulder, and 8 cents for off-peak. As if it was just a standard residence rather than a detailed commercial installation. You can also have separate demand charges for flat rate dollars per kilowatt per month, or time of use dollars per kilowatt per month. We recommend that you don't turn those on, but they are available if you want to demonstrate that this is the upper level of what you might expect from a solar system. You can enter your electricity price increase for the first 3 years, and subsequently these are adjustable in the background as well, and we recommend that you don't put the second value too high, otherwise you rapidly reach electricity prices in the multiple of dollars per kilowatt hour. If your utility is providing you extra value above and beyond what the government is doing, then you can enter it in here. That won't be applied to an SFID or net feed-in tariff, one-for-one. And then if there is some other billing related charges that aren't affected by the solar system, so for example your standing charge, then you can put that down. That will just be represented in the cash flow charts without affecting the solar investment, and that might go up by 3% as well each year. The final input that's in this page is the load profile, and so this will help the system work out how much power is exported to the grid, and also the value of energy consumption, offset, etc. So you can start with a residential profile. It's got a preloaded residential profile in there. Constant is like as if the entire consumption was consumed constantly throughout the year, and that provides your kind of most conservative level of system financials, because it's going to be one of your greatest possible exports. You can also set up for your company some daytime focused and nighttime focused load profiles, and so those are often used in commercial cases where you may wish to see, okay, we have good solar alignment, so we're unlikely to export, or we have poor solar alignment, so we're likely to export more. And with each of those, then you can set how many days per week they're operating, and there's two separate load profiles, those for working days and those for non-working days. Finally, you can also upload a data file which has a point of consumption for every hour of the year, 24 hours per day, 365 days a year, and so that allows you to upload a file to represent that load profile, and you can download a template just to make sure your formatting is right. But let's leave that back as a residential system and hit update, and those changes will be applied. And we then see the additional costs that have been factored in, as well as the discounts there and how that's affected the price. We see the monthly payment over 5 years with a balloon payment here. Your electricity prices are now peak, shoulder and off peak as we imported, and you can also see here what our annual revenue curve looks like. For example, now that we've got a loan in there, you can see that over the first few years you're paying off the loan. In fact, you've got a balloon payment here, so you actually make a net payment, and then from then onwards you get the benefit of the system. But interestingly here, the payments exactly balance the savings from reduced electricity consumption, so that's a great outcome.